Biggers, a native New Orleanian, started St. Augustine High School in Nebraska, and then started for his hometown New Orleans Saints. He earned All-Pro honors and Pro Bowl honors in 1993, set an NFL record for return yardage in a single season in 1994 in NFL history. He was inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame in 2015. Of course, the Saints won 4 straight, had an off week. Tough game this Sunday at Baltimore at 3:05 p.m. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Saints Hall of Fame inductee Tyrone Hughes. Tyrone?
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Quarterback Club, for inviting me and having me here today to speak on the Saints. I don't know why. I don't even watch them. But no, I go to the games. I hang out in the suites. I network with everybody, so I very seldom watch. But I did watch the Washington Redskins game, and I watched the things that they've been doing so far this season. And I know in the beginning, as a fan, everybody was kind of hot and mad, looking at the way they played. But understand with a team, and every year, regardless of how you preseason, spring, whatever you go through, it still takes a team time to gel. It takes players time to get to know each other in a real game situation, in a full game situation. You go through some things in preseason where you may only be out there for a quarter or two together, but things change, situations change once you get into the year, into the regular season, for guys to start to gel together. Kind of picking on some of the guys, or talking about some of the guys that they have. Everybody, wanted to know what was going on with Marshawn Lattimore, and I said it last year. This year coming up, he's not going to sneak up on anybody. He has to change his game. He needs to start studying, I think, the receivers he's going to be covering a little bit more. But I think also having Glenn back there as a veteran defensive back, they'll help get that change, and have gotten that change compared to the first game. You can't play press man all the time. Teams start to learn that, start to see that. You got to know, how fast is the receiver that you're covering. And so I think that first game against Tampa, he kind of got isolated, and they actually went after him. So and a lot of people are down on it. Everybody's talking about, we need to find another secondary, whatever. The only one in that secondary I think that could be changed, doesn't have to be, but I think could be changed, is Crowley. I don't think he's as consistent as he needs to be at that position, but he gets the job done for what they have out there. I know there's been talk about trading for Patrick Peterson, and I think which would be a great trade. I think it would be great in the sense of he has an $11 million contract, which I can't believe. I was looking at Josh Norman gets paid $15 million a year, and he's playing zone coverage. I'm like, I can't believe that. But I think that would be a good move a great move for the Saints. Having Patrick Peterson and Lattimore on each side, you can bring a little bit more heat. Don't have to cover as long. For those 2 guys, you got 2 lockdown corners, and I think Marcus Williams, the free safety. Look at the first pass. I think he picked it off with one hand against Washington, but he was out of bounds. So he's actually has shown. Looks like he's gotten better with his range on that back end. So I think people have kind of forgotten or gradually will forget about the last play last year. It's a new season. It's over, and start up again. Obviously, I think one of my biggest fans, or I should say I'm a big fan of, out of that whole defense is Sheldon Rankins. And I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves or should get, because he's a dominant player. He's one hell of a player. And he creates a lot of havoc for those linebackers. And I think early in the year, the problem with the defense was that the linebackers weren't fitting to their gaps. When you look at the film, you see a lot of them overrunning it or getting caught behind the gaps that they should be and should have been in, and that's what caused a lot of big plays. But then also when you're playing against, I think it was the Chargers and who was the other AFC team they played in the preseason? Jacksonville. When you're playing teams like that, when you look at the AFC, it's just a given across the board. They're going to be bigger, stronger, more physical. In the NFC, you're going to be more finesse. So I expected it to be a hard game for them. And again, we're talking about preseason. So hopefully, looking at what they've done so far, how they've come along, we can tighten up on that back end and help. Hopefully, I know we're getting Manti Te'o back. this week. Hopefully that defense can continue to strive. But of course, everybody knows what the offense can do and has done. And I think it was a great accomplishment that Drew Brees had on last weekend. And I even got kind of teary-eyed when I saw him hug Coach Payton. You know, I think it was a great moment, great history moment to be a part of. And just to be a part of that organization, you know, I felt something, I felt really appreciated about that. So offensively, you know, we got Mark Ingram back. I think he's going to be a great help to obviously this run game that hasn't looked so well in the past couple of weeks. I think Kamara has done an excellent job, and I think Sean has done an excellent job of moving him around, but I think he's been overused. I think he needed a break this past last weekend, but you saw he didn't really have a lot of carries. He didn't really play that much. The one thing I disagree with is putting him at punt returner. I don't think that's something he needs to be doing, especially because of how much he has to work in other areas, you know. And I've said that, people are like, well, Tyrone, you were a punt returner. I say, yeah, but I also played on the defensive side of the ball as a nickel and dime player, so I wasn't in the game just about every play as much as he is. And as much as they need him and need to use him, I just don't think that's a position he needs to be playing. But as the offense as a whole, of course, they're going to always put up numbers. I think we're going to have a big issue coming at the end of this year when you're talking about Michael Thomas. If he continues on the track that he's on and looking at the money that Odell Beckham has gotten paid, I think he's going to be commanded because he's going to be a restricted free agent. I think he's going to command a lot of money, and I'm pretty sure somebody's going to offer it. And the Saints are either going to have to match it or make him a long-term contract extension, give him a long-term contract extension. If they don't, they just match the offer, then next year he's going to be a free agent, which means he's going to get even more money. So I think that's going to be a problem in the future for the Saints to handle. Hopefully they'll be able to get it done. And again, I think another great move would be to go after Patrick Peterson if he's available. Any questions?
As you said, you were a kick returner and a punt returner, and I think we have a perfect kick returner, punt returner on the practice squad in Boston Scott. Have you had a chance to talk with him and get to know his game?
No, I haven't. I hadn't even seen him. Don't even know him.
He's the little short guy from Louisiana, Texas.
What happened to the
It's super fast.
the other kid? It was Hill, maybe Ken Thomas, the little small returner that they have. Tommy Lee Lewis. What happened? He's out. Oh, okay. Well, I thought he was a great guy, and in fact, was it 1 or 2 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was. He came out, had a great preseason game, and then kind of got stuffed on the side. You know, I thought he did an excellent job as a receiver, but he's definitely a good returner that they could definitely use back there. The other kid I haven't seen, but I think when you look at the way the kickoff is set up now, which I still don't understand it, as long as the kickers are kicking the ball out of the end zone, you're not going to get much of a return. I think on a punt return is where guys can do some damage if you have a good returner. But what I've seen so far this year is that you still don't have, even last year, I don't see a lot of emphasis being placed on the return game from a punt returner, just from the punt return aspect of it. It's just guys just aren't really blocking, to me, enough or hard enough to give the returners a chance.
And I know you've been doing some coaching in the high school level. Talk about your team.
Well, I started out at St. Thomas Aquinas as the defensive coordinator earlier this year, and then got demoted to secondary coach because the coach wanted a guy who was actually at the school being the defensive coordinator. So I ended up being the defensive back coach, and so then Cecil Thomas got the interim head coaching job over at Walker High School in Livingston Parish. And so he called me up to come be the defensive back coach over there, which is a 5A school, which I'm really kind of surprised about. That looking at that school, and I don't know how many of you know about Walker High School, but it's in Livingston Parish in Walker, Louisiana, and it's really amazing to know that that's a public school. It looks like one of the schools in Texas, as far as how Texas has the ISD, Independent School District, where all of the tax dollars in that city goes to that particular school. They have a high school, a junior high, and an elementary school. And the school has, they're building an additional facility for the school. The stadium is pretty nice. They're building a new gymnasium, which is going to have a big video screen outside of the stadium so you can watch the football games. But they also have a Nike store on campus. They have a credit union on campus. They're bringing in a Jimmy John's. And they all, what's the biggest thing to me that really amazes me is that we watch practice from drones. So I'm like, I don't even think they do that in the NFL. We literally have drones so where we're getting the inside view and the wide view at the same time. I mean, it's totally amazing the technology that they have. We have our own television station. So all of our home games are on television. We do commercial breaks and all of that. So it's really impressive what they have out there. And it's a great opportunity for me to continue out there. Hopefully if Coach Cecil gets the job, the head coaching job next year, he'll bring me back on. And so far we've been good. We're 5-1. We lost to Zachary, which I learned they won the state championship last year and have about 1 million kids on their team. I see why. And I think one of our problems, though, to say that we play 5A football, and the coach and I were just talking about it, is that we still have a lot of our starters actually play both ways. And even though we have some JV kids that could possibly compete at least, the coaches just basically want to, that's the way we play. So in a tough game like we had against Zachary, it became bad for us in the sense that our starters are basically tired by the end of the third quarter. And but we played Bel Air last week. We beat them 55-0, 56-0, and then we play concussion. Who is it? Watching film all week long.
Colors of the uniform.
Yeah, whoever it is, we played this week, and we actually now have we've changed our whole defense, so it's going to be pretty interesting.
Got a question, Ty. With all those resources you guys have, you should not have issues. Your job is to go to coach. Just coach, right, coach?
like I said, our problem is we got guys that got to go both ways, and so that's the issue that we have. And again, playing 5A football, you shouldn't have to do that, but that's our thing.
As a former NFLer, right, and now you're on the high school level, how is it? How good of a job is for you to impart knowledge on that age bracket?
It's exciting, and I think for any guy who has played the game and you get into coaching, it gets to be exciting for what you can teach these kids. The problem is them basically understanding or wanting to learn it, because all they're interested about is hearing about, especially when they know you're a professional, have played professional, well, they just want to hear about your stories. I'm trying to teach you, the game. And but they do, the guys who are the better athletes and the ones who are probably going to have scholarship offers, they're the ones who really will come and ask you, well, coach, what about this, what about that? They really are willing to listen, and that's a good part about it.
Anyone else?
Thank you guys for having me very much. I appreciate it.